Genesis 22 this morning. We'll be looking at verses 6 through 12. Genesis 22, 6 through 12. If you're writing down notes and you want a title for it, the title of this morning's message is Talk is Cheap. Talk is cheap. Verses 6 through 8 of Genesis 22 reads as follows. And Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife. So the two of them walked together. Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." And he said, "Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham said, "God will provide for himself a lamb for the burnt offering, my son." So the two of them walked on together. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, put it on Isaac, took the fire and the knife in his hand, and they both went on their journey. Everyone, every one of us, Christians, non-Christians alike, we understand something. We know something. Talk is cheap. You hear people say, "Oh yeah, I promise, I swear, and then they fail miserably. They don't do it at all. They could sound really committed. They could sound really honest. They could sound really I promise you with everything that I am, I'm going, and then they don't. They got right down to it. They failed to do what they promised to do for whatever reason. You see, it doesn't matter how many times I profess that I'm a Christian or how many people hear me say that I love Jesus, because a lot of people do that. They'll make that profession. They will say, "I love him, I serve him, I'll do anything for him." And they're happy with that. You've heard me say it, you know I do. James 2:26 says something that really convicted me when I started thinking about that. James 2:26 says, "For just as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead." You can say whatever you want, but if there's no act to confirm it or to substantiate it or to prove it, then you're just not really telling the truth, are you now? Here I am telling everybody I am on a diet with chocolate cake in one hand and Fritos in the other one, or Cheetos probably, but I'm drinking Diet Coke. Right? I can say whatever I want. I can say it as loud as I want to say it. Christian, if every time you hit a bump in the road of life, and the first thing you do is head straight for a therapist's chair before turning to God in prayer, or if you turn to a needle, a pipe, a bottle, or a buddy before seeking counsel, courage, comfort from Jesus, then your actions are testifying against you. You know what I'm saying? We say we trust you, Lord. We say we know you can meet our need. We say you are all that we will ever need to make it. We know it's in you. But we don't go to him first. We make him our last resort. Why? Why? Think about that. Think about that. I'm not saying that doctors are bad. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, why don't we go to God first? That's what I'm asking. I am saying that the booze and the weed and the whatever else, I'm saying that's wrong. We shouldn't be going to that. Or getting counsel from ungodly people. That's wrong too. But so many times that is where we go for counsel, courage, and comfort before we go to the Lord. And that, Christian, makes no sense at all. None. None. If he truly is who he says he is, and you believe in him the way you say you do. Remember, verse 3 told us that Abraham rose up early in the morning to do God's will. Remember? And it wasn't an easy thing that he was told to do, but he got up early anyway, and he did it. Now, for me, I only see two reasons that Abraham was able to get up like this early in the morning to do this. I only see two. There may be more, but I see two. One, he was clinically delusional and homicidal. Okay? Anthony, what are you talking about? Well, according to him, God spoke to him. And he told him to go kill your son, murder your son. So he did it because he was nuts, crazy, lost it. And he was hearing voices in his head telling him to go kill your son. That was one. Or, and I lean towards this one, the God of the Bible truly exists. And God commanded him to do this. And he had absolute faith in the true God of the Bible. And he knew that his God was going to provide for himself a lamb for the burnt offering. It's one or the other. He had totally lost it, or God is real. And he put all of his faith in his God. It was one or the other. And this trial is going to let everyone know exactly which one it was. Abe was crazy, or Abe's God is real. That was it. You and I, at one time or another in our lives, are going to end up in that situation. Our God is going to prove himself to be real or not. We believe in the God of the Bible and know he's going to do perfectly, or we're going to believe in something else, or we've lost it. We're hearing some other voice that isn't his, and it will be revealed during the course of that trial. Abraham was at one of those moments like Peter in Matthew chapter 14. Remember when he sits there? Remember he's in the boat with all the other guys and they're all hanging out. It's verses 28 and 29 of Matthew 14. He's in the boat with all these other guys and the storm is going. And next thing you know, Jesus, they see him walking out in the water, right? They're all freaking out because they're not sure who it is. But Peter, being Peter, says, Lord, if it's you, okay, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And I love what Jesus says. He says, well, come. And it says, then Peter got down out of the boat. He walked on the water. And he came toward Jesus. We're going to be in those situations sometimes in life. Lord, if it's really you, help me. He says, okay, come. Do what I'm telling you to do. Follow me. Whoa, right? Peter started out okay, remember? Because what happens in verse 30 is he starts to look at the wind and the waves and he starts to sink. And then he says, Lord, save me. But he started out just fine. You and I are going to be facing things, and we've all, I'm sure, faced something at one time or another that rocked us a bit. And we're like, Lord, if it's, I need you. He says, okay, trust me, I got you. And we're starting out okay. But what got me also in this verse, it ends with, so the two of them walked on together. And it says it twice. Verse 6 and verse 8. I just thought, I don't know why that really struck me. But twice it says that. So off they go together. Isaac with a load of lumber strapped to his back. And Abraham who's carrying a torch and a knife. And they're both marching towards Mount Moriah. That's where they're going. But that's kind of the whole scene right there. Now who knows how many times Abraham and Isaac had gone to sacrifice to the Lord. I would think a lot of times. Come on, son, we're going to go make a sacrifice. Okay, Dad, let's go. They went. There they go. But this time wasn't like any other time either of these men had ever experienced in the past. It seemed like any other time, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Abraham understood this. He knew why he was going. Isaac didn't. He was just going because this is what we do. We're going to sacrifice to the Lord. Dad said, let's go, I'm going. I remember my dad would say, who wants to go with me? And our answer was, where are you going? Forget it, you can't go. I just ask if you want to go. If you want to go, let's go. Don't worry about where, trust me. So we learned to trust him. Usually it was a good thing. Sometimes it was a long, boring trip somewhere, but to visit somebody we didn't even know or want to see, but anyway. So for Abraham, he knew where he was, what was going to be ending up happening. Isaac didn't, but they both went. Understanding this, it cautioned me as being sometimes the one who knows and sometimes the one who doesn't, is that I need to be careful. I need to be careful that my worship, that my sacrifice to the Lord doesn't become mechanical. You ever run into that sometimes where you're worshiping, but it's like, this is where I raise my hand, this is where I put it down. This is where I nod in affirmation so people know that I know what's being said. This is where we sway. It just becomes mechanical. Or it gets stale. There's just not that something. There's not that, man, I'm so glad to see you. It's like, I told you, whenever Tina's gone somewhere or doing something, I just stare at her when she gets back. Kind of creepy, but I'm married, so I can stare at her. I see her, she's in bed, and she's asleep, and I'm watching her breathe, and I hear her, and I'm like, hey, she's here. She's by me. It's just, I love her so much. And sometimes our worship for him, our service gets stale. It's like, yeah, I'm doing it. Hallelujah. Okay, Lord, I did it. I said it. It gets stale. It gets mundane. Again, it's the routine. Good morning. How are you? I love you. Yes. It's empty of passion. Those of you who've been married for a quick minute. Yeah. Remember when you first started dating? 15, 20, 30, whatever years ago or more. I remember talking to this one lady. She was in her 80s, and she says, when we dated, back when I was a girl, we would pass notes. She says, but the notes would go from me to a friend through another friend in case anybody ever intercepted it, and then it would go to the guy. And I would have to wait until the next church service to get the answer to my note. But there was just that excitement that I want to hear from him. And she says, and I would see him in my heart, which is scary. I remember the first time I saw Tina. I was teaching. I was teaching at church. And I stuttered. I will never forget that. That passion, that excitement. Or maybe we even let our worship, it starts to lack sincerity. It's not with all my heart. It's a show. I put it on in front of all of you so that you think that I really am in love with him. But I'm thinking so far beyond or around him. I just do this and all that because I want you to think everything's good this way. But in reality, it's not. It's not sincere. Right? We know what that word means, right? Sincere, sincera, without wax. So but my worship is basically just hypocritical. I can let it get that way. I have to be careful. For those of us who've been walking with the Lord for any period of time, it's easy for us to get there if we don't constantly seek Him, if we're not constantly reaching out, just Lord, just let me love you, let me talk to you, I want to hear you, I want to feel your breath as the wind blows, and I want to know that it's you. Everything I want it to remind me of you instead of all the problems, all the mess, and all the garbage that's out there. That's all there, but you need to be my everything. I just started doing this again, and I try to do it more and more, and I share it with you, and I do it because I think it's important that you know where your pastor's at right now. I'm going through my Bible once a month now. Once a month. Just reading it over and over and over and over. Why? Because there can come a point in my life and in time when it just gets mundane and boring. And it's what I do. And it's like, no, I'm just reading it now to go, oh my gosh, really? And it's like, Lord, open my eyes to this all over again. Help me to read about these guys and go, ooh, they're bad. Lord, get them. And then He gets them, and I'm like, yes! And then all of a sudden I go, Lord, get them, and He doesn't. I'm like, what? And He's like, mercy. Oh, wow, that's even greater. But there's just total love again, because it's easy for us to get I know the story. Every time we open our Bible, it should come alive. There should be something new there that just jumps out at me, at you. I would be concerned if I can read it and be bored. I would. I need to be like Abraham was. Remember? Here I am, listening intently, ready, willing, and able to do anything and everything that his Lord wanted him to do. That's where I need to be. And he was going to do it without any delay and without any pushback. Right? Whatever you say, I'll do it. Does this describe your worship? We're here, we're singing, and the Lord just places it on your heart. You know what? Raise your hand. Nobody else is doing it. I didn't ask you about anybody else. I put it in your heart to just raise your hand and worship to me. Maybe He tells you, you know what? Kneel down. I'd rather raise my hand. Maybe He just starts to tug at your heart just a bit, and all of a sudden tears are starting. You're like, no, can't do that. People are going to think I'm, bad. I've done a sin. You're just overwhelmed. Have you ever seen somebody after a long period of time that you missed, and you see them and you cried? Not because it was something bad, but you were just so filled with joy. Or maybe seeing your granddaughter for the first time. Yeah. Because you're sad? No, because you're like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful miracle, Lord. How would you describe your worship? In verse 7, it says, Isaac spoke to his father. Abraham, and he said, my father. He said, here I am, my son. That first half gets me because it's been this way in our family for as long as I can remember. When I was a boy with my dad, with my mom, I would always say, hey, my dad. He'd go, yeah, my son. Or, hey, my mom. Hey, my son. That's just how we talk. That's what he says here. And he said, look, the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And again, so the two of them walked on together. reading verse 7, this is kind of how it plays out in my mind. Okay, again, this is my imagination. I'm not saying this is exactly how it happened, but I think it's pretty close. At least it would have been if I was going up there with one of my sons. Hey, Dad, you got me home? I think you forgot something here, Pop. And he kind of laughs. What are you talking about, son? Well, Dad, the lamb for the burnt offering. We don't have one. And then verse 8. Seriously, son, you just noticed this right now, Isaac? Real good there, my son. Good time to tell me. And then he answers, well, we did leave awful early, Dad, remember? And the entire way here, all you've been doing is talking about stuff we did when I was a kid, or asking me about my favorite memories about you and about me and about Mom, and that's all we were doing. I was wondering what's going on. I haven't been that bad, son, have I? I'm just kidding with you, Dad, but you were asking a lot of questions. Okay, well, I'm glad I wasn't that bad. Anyway, about the lamb, don't worry about it, son. God will provide a burnt offering for himself. Sounds good to me, Dad. Besides, I don't think there's a market out this way anyway. They both just kind of laugh and they just keep on walking together. Isaac none the wiser of what's going to be asked of him, and Abraham fully aware of what is being asked of him. They both continue on their journey. Mom and Dad, there's going to be times you're going to know things that your kids don't. Can't. You have to stay faithful. And spoiler alert, young people, your mom and dad are never going to ask you to be sacrificed, okay? And if they do, don't. Okay? So just let you know. Verse 9 through 12. Then they came to the place of which God had told him. And Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood and bound his son Isaac, and he laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham reached out with his hand, and he took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, and he said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Do not reach out your hand against the boy. Do not do anything to him. For I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. They came to the place which God had told him. Abraham builds an altar. Isaac drops the wood by the altar. And Abraham starts to arrange it. As soon as they got to where they were supposed to be, they got right to the job at hand. Think about that. Didn't wait. Didn't piddle around. You know what it's like when you really don't want to do a chore? Well, maybe you guys don't. I do. It's like, I'll wash the dishes right now. And what do? Right? I'm going to do it right now. I just have to do this first. What? You need anything from the store? I'll go get it. And there I go. And I will come back hoping that she would have done it. And then, no, oh, okay. Well, You know what? Let me call Elijah, see if he needs anything. Make a call. And then I'm hoping for a call from work. Anything! So I don't have to do the dishes. Right? He didn't do that. There was no piddling around here. He got right to the business in hand. But here's what gets me. Somewhere in the middle of all this altar building, wood dropping, wood stacking, another conversation had to take place. They were talking, Abe and Isaac. Okay? Somewhere during this whole time, Abraham had to explain to Isaac, son, that sacrifice I was talking about, that God was going to provide for himself? Yeah, Dad. Son, that's you. That was going to have to come out eventually. You are the sacrifice that I am supposed to be presenting here. And thank you, son. And he was going to need to get up on the altar, Isaac. You got to get up there, okay? Because you're the sacrifice. So what I'm going to need you to do was, I need you to let me tie you up. Tie me up, Dad? Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to lay down. Okay. And I'm going to have to sacrifice you. Okay. And Isaac knew what this meant. You're going to die. I'm going to cut you into pieces and I'm going to burn you as an offering to the Lord. Now, Isaac he's in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. So, it's not like Abraham was going to get him by the scruff of his neck and say, boy, this young guy could have, ran or something. But he didn't. The only way this was going to happen is if Isaac willingly submitted to his 100-something-year-old dad. And that's exactly what he did. That blew me away. It really did. 100 plus, I'm in my 20s, and you want me to let you tie me up, put me on top of I've seen what you do to those animals, Dad. I'm not a fan of that happening to me. I'd be gone. But he agreed. Then I had to ask myself, what kind of a life of godliness did Abraham live that his adult son would willingly allow himself to be placed upon the altar as a sacrifice? For his dad to say, son, the Lord told me he's got the sacrifice and you're it. I need you to get up there. I have to tie you up. I have to sacrifice you. And for his answer to be, okay, Dad, which way do you want my head to face? How? What kind of a life did this man live in front of his son that he didn't question it? We don't see anything of, why, sure, Dad? Could we get one of the two young boys back there? I mean, we're about the same age. Right? And we don't see any of that here. How do you even have that conversation with your son? Think about it. How? What did Abraham tell Isaac? Trust me, Isaac. Listen, son, here's what happened. God told me I was going to be the father of a multitude. And it's all going to start with you. So even as I am sacrificing you, I want you to know something. God will resurrect you. How must that have sounded to his son? Think about that. Think about you being in your 20s and some guy in his 100 plus says, hey, here's what we're going to do. I need you to get up there, lay down, I'm going to tie you up, I'm going to strap you down, cut you into pieces, and but don't worry, because God will raise you up again. Yeah, no. Right? Think about that. And his answer was, okay, Dad. If you say so, I'll do it. A godly man for sure. You know, and then I don't know, it blows me away even more because I remember how hard it was just to try and get my kids to take out the garbage. Right? Neil, throw out the trash. Dad, why? Could you imagine, Neil, do me a favor, get up on the altar. Right? No way! But he did it. He did it. No fight. Nothing. We just see he obeyed. Verse 10, and then Abraham reached out with his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven. And he said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. So here's what we have. As Abraham, and this is how I, again, am picturing this as I put myself into the story. Abraham's looking at Isaac through his eyes that are filled with tears. He's trying to stay strong. he's looking at his son, doing the, okay. And then there's one tear. It starts to come down. He's like, oh, I got to get this done. Okay. And there he goes. The tear comes down. And as he's looking at him, he says, I love you, Isaac. He says, I love you too, my dad. And there he goes. And then verse 11. Oh, verse 11. I love verse 11. Abraham! Abraham! Right? He is ready. They're there. In his heart, his son was already dead. This was it. It was over already. I'm trusting you that you'll raise him up after all of this. And I'm trusting the God of my dad to do what my dad said. Abraham, Abraham, here I am, right? Here I, yes. And I got to thinking, if this was me, here I'm going, and I am ready to do this. I am fully committed. He did not say, wait a minute. Abraham, Abraham, hold on. Or what now, Lord? What else do you want? What else can I give you? I'm doing it. Hold on, give me a sec. This isn't easy. Sacrificing your son, not like you know. Are you serious right now? Do you see how focused I am and you're going to call me? None of that. None of that. Abraham. Abraham. Right? And the answer is what? Here I am. Here I am. Wow. Wow. He wasn't mad. He wasn't mad at the Lord. He was focused on him in the midst of everything. He was focused on the voice of his Lord. His answer was simple, but it spoke volumes. Here I am. Christian, how focused are you in the midst of your trial? When God is asking you to sacrifice that one thing that you love more than anything else, how focused are you? Think about it. A loved one is dying. Says, you got to entrust them to me now. Are you listening to him, or are you sitting there going, now what else are you going to take? I got to take a break from this whole loving you, serving you thing. This one was hard on me. I'm going to turn your voice down a little bit. How do we get? I know Tina and I, when Elijah was sick and we thought wasn't gonna make it, the temptation is there to just say, you know what, I'm trusting you, and this is what I'm getting. And we had some great friends, along with our parents and everybody else, encourage us. We love you. If you need anything, we're here for you. I still have that yellow sticky note that these dear friends gave us. Abraham was laser focused. Nothing took his focus off of the main thing, which was his God. Nothing. Just like in verse 1, intently listening, ready, willing, and able to do whatever his God would require of him. He was there. He was ready. Again, I ask, how focused are you on God during your hard trials? The ones that got you sweating, the ones that you're just, everything in you is aching, every fiber in you is on fire. You're like, I have one more thing and my body is just going to explode. I can't handle anymore. How focused are you on your God? Are you like David, who focused on God and not on Goliath? Or are you like his brothers and the soldiers of Saul that were more focused on the giant instead of their God? We need to be focused like David, like Abraham, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, like Daniel, like Jonah, like Stephen, like Jesus. We need to be focused on God the Father, come what may. That's how we need to be. Nothing else is going to get us through it. Nothing. Each one of us face trials differently. We respond to them differently. But the only thing that gets them through, or gets us through them, is God. That's it. Nothing else. Verse 12, and he said, do not reach out your hand against the boy. Do not do anything to him, for I know that you fear God, since you've not withheld your son, your only son, from me. So I love what he says. Abe, it's all good. Stop. Don't touch a single hair on his head. Leave him alone. Right? Because he's like, I'm ready. Abe, here I am. Leave him alone. Oh, Lord. Right? That's kind of what's happening. I don't know about you, but I think I would fall out. Oh, thank you, God. And I would be hugging my son and kissing my son. And, it would change everything instantly. But that's what happened there. He says, look, Abe, I know there's nothing you love more or anyone you respect more than me. Abe, you're all about me. I know that now. There is no doubt about this. No one can doubt your commitment to me. You were willing to give to me the one thing that was going to fulfill the promise that I gave to you. Your name was more important to you than me. Your lineage was not more important to you than me. Nothing matters more to you than me. I see that, Abraham. Remember, talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. Faith without accompanying works is dead. God is either God of all in your life, or he is not God at all in your life. Anthony, I don't agree with that. I don't care. He is God of all, or he is not God at all. It's that simple. It's that clear. It's that plain. I can't do that on my own. You're right. You can't. You need the empowerment of the Holy Spirit to live this way, to love him that much, to be committed to that extent. We're totally dependent on him. We can sit here and make excuses all day long as far as to why we can't be so committed. Why we can't make him God of everything. But all they are weak excuses. There's no reason that he cannot be God of everything other than we choose for him not to be. He's God of all in our life, or he is not God at all in our life. And you may think that's a bit of an extreme statement. Those of you that are married, try telling your spouse, I love you and you're my spouse Monday through Friday, but Saturdays, honey, I got an itch, I got to scratch it. Yeah, I'll be doing a lot of funerals after that, I bet. Okay. It doesn't work like that. If we won't accept 99%, 95%, 99.8%, why do we think God is only worthy of that much? He's God of all, or he's not God at all. That's the commitment he expects from us. Borrowing a quote from a writer by the name of Marcus Aurelius, he said, and I'm paraphrasing it and changing it a bit, but waste no more time arguing about what a man of faith should be. Just be one. Be that. Because we will sit here and we will have these conversations. Well, a man of faith should do this, and a man of faith should do that. Stop. Just do it already. Give me an example. Show me what it is. I remember as a young boy, probably I was 13, 14, 15, looking and seeing these leaders in conferences. And I remember saying to my dad and others going, I'm tired of hearing about the Moses and the Peters and all these. I want to see somebody live it. And I remember God, how he convicted my heart and said, you start living like that. Not the answer I wanted an example. But he said, hey, you got to be that man. Okay. Stop arguing about what a man of faith is. Be one. Be that woman of faith that prays and doesn't stop and seeks the face of God and doesn't stop pounding on the gates of heaven until that loved one is saved. Don't stop. Again, I told you when that one lady at Manachuri, when she passed, I mean, she's just saintly, godly woman that prayed forever. And Mara Solis was another one, always praying. When those old saints die, somebody needs to rise up. Somebody needs to fill that place. I'm only here because old folks were praying for me. That's it, the grace of God, that's all. Who knows where I would be or if I'd be alive. If not for the grace of God and the prayers of old saints. Be people of faith. And remember, it's not your words that define your character. It's your actions. Abraham rose up early in the morning. I pray that we too would do just the same.